Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the GAB, the Real Talk, Real Insight. I'm Gabby Johnson, and here I am with the crew. Today, we have a special guest with that will join us after the break. So feel free to drop your comments, engage. If you are watching from channel 30 or channel 45 on FiOS, then go to Facebook, Princeton TV, and put your comments into our Facebook. Today is a very special day, but before we get to that, I would like to really make an announcement because October is Breast Cancer Awareness, and it is never too early to have your screening done. This really helps and save lives. So if you have not done that yet, then make sure to make an appointment with your doctor today.
Get those mammograms.
Get those mammograms. And leading on this today, the topic of the day is how do you deal with your teenage daughter during this moment? And I will introduce our crew here. So Dr. Joan.
Dr. Joan Coleman, founder, CEO, Let Me Be Me.
Esther Tanis from Esther Inc. Insurance Agency.
I'm Melissa Tenzer, the CEO of Dress for Success, Central New Jersey.
Amita Mehta, founder of AMP Consulting.
So unfortunately on our crew, we are all mamas that have boys except one lady.
The lucky one.
The lucky one. So the questions are, by example, well, being that you're a mom of a daughter and she is absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
And she is so reflecting of your parenting. Tell us just from your heart, what are the challenges that you have with her?
So it's the biggest challenge is as she was growing up, she was very independent when she was going into kindergarten, that I was walking her in and she even then threw my hand away like, I've got this, Mom. And I thought, wow, what an independent woman. So as we grew, her understanding my perspective and my wisdom, she always challenged it. I thought she was going to be a lawyer, but she was always very respectful about having her point of view, which is really important. And I always wanted to foster that. But the challenge is with social media and looking at all of the pictures out there and the portrayal of girls being filtered in the TikTok and wearing those skimpy clothes, and that you have to have all these friends and being partying all the time. And I think being smart and being in school and being in different active clubs is really, really important part of her. So not feeling jealous when people are out at night and you're in doing your work, because you want to really concentrate on your education. So the balance between having great friends, having respect, but also having social media is really a big balance for, I think, girls in general. And building the confidence is something that's really great too, to know that everybody has their important attributes. And as a mom, I want to bring those out in you, but it's more than just beauty. It's the beauty within that's important. But an interesting part too is when they get their license. I think that's a big challenge. So,
But before you go to the license, because that is true for any kids.
Absolutely.
It was a great moment yesterday at the Taste of Hope, where basically Attitude in Reverse had a wonderful speaker, and they exactly talked about the peer pressure on social media. I think our kids are exposed to so much more than our generation,
Absolutely.
right? And again, it's the question of connecting your brain and your heart, and the permission you give to other to bully you or to give you that pressure. So just listen to yourself and give you the permission to be your authentic self. So go ahead.
Absolutely. And I think when you talk about social media, another thing that impacts and what we have to teach our boys and girls is that whatever you do now can come back to you when you're looking for a job. I'm all about workforce development. And even with my staffing agency, when we're hiring somebody, you tend to look at their profile and see what they're doing. So I think girls in general and the youth have to understand what you're doing today on social media might seem cool with the drinking and everything that really entails, but that can come back as you're looking for a job, because that's a part of who you are fully, not just LinkedIn, where business people they go further and they can connect you on Instagram, they can follow you, they can see you on Twitter, they can see you on all of these outlets. So really putting yourself ahead of that and say, I want to be professional, even though I'm a teen, I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm not going to make them on camera, because that can stay with me for the rest of my life.
Well, and that'll stay indelible.
Yes,
Forever.
forever.
Once you put, and it can take you
Forever.
decades, right? It'll take you decades to create your brand,
Mhm.
and it
Absolutely.
can take one silly post and
Exactly. And saying something wrong too, that
Right.
the teens don't have their whole brain formed to understand what's right and wrong at this point. So we're there to guide them as parents, but they make their own mistakes, their own shared mistakes.
And Dr. Joan, you really specialize into building up confidence, and the beginning of your journey was starting with really helping youth to build confidence. What do you see happening?
I want to go back to what you say, be your authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
On social media, adults have a hard time being their authentic self. They have a hard time saying, no, I'm not going to do this. No, I'm not going to follow the crowd. So imagine our teenage children. Imagine what they go through. We could tell them till we're blue in the face, but they have to experience it for themselves. But one thing I want them to know is that they're enough. That's my message. You're enough. You don't have to be like anyone else. Just be yourself. Work on that, practice that. But there's so many things coming at them that's a daily practice. And we have to, as parents, guardians, whoever we are, we have to constantly remind them of that. It's a practice. It's something that has to be embedded, ingrained in them. So, they have to hear it every day. You are enough. You're beautiful the way you are. Don't use a filter today. Let's try. Let's do a challenge. Let's do a challenge. Let's not do a filter.
Who are
all week
guilty
long,
who are guilty of the filters?
I don't do
I don't
filters.
do
You don't do filters? She doesn't
No.
do filters.
yeah, actually,
No.
I don't. Yeah, I don't.
I don't.
filter.
I don't.
Once in a while.
But I think
Look at me. Look at the camera. That's me. There's no
Right.
filters here.
But I think that's
No,
good
no.
advice too, that you are enough, and that's important. And then the independence part that we were talking about
Yes.
is when a teen becomes independent and they start driving, how much do you track them and what do you do at that time in their life? Because when we were young, we would go outside and play and you would hear your mom call you for dinner. They never said where were you for the last 5 hours. Now it's like, okay, you're driving. Where are you going? Who are you with? Who are their parents? And, they're independent. They've been trying to get to this point where they're growing into a young adult, and they've been waiting all these years to just kind of say, I'm done. I can make my own decisions now, but they're not fully grown. So getting a balance as a mom to open that communication to say, I trust you. I believe in you. Let's have a conversation of where you're going. What time are you going to be home? I'm tracking just to make sure that you get to your final destination and get home. But really having
That's
that
good.
open
Yeah.
communication to be able to understand that they're going to make mistakes, but they're going to make some really good choices too, and they're going to grow as a person, as a teen, and that relationship, mother and daughter, will grow from those experiences and keeping the open dialogue.
So this brings me to, and I agree with you, Melissa, but this brings me to how is your relationship and your dialogue, by example, Amita, because you have a set of kids that are not yours. So
Biologically.
Biologically.
They're yours,
Yes.
mommy. They're yours. They're stuck with me now.
I love that.
But yeah, but I think it's been an interesting just sort of perspective. I never thought I would have kids in my life, and I feel like growing up with my parents, it was more like you will get great grades, and here's the expectations. Here are the rules,
Yeah.
and it feels less like that now. Like having kids in my life, in terms of it's more sort of like seeing them where they are, and we have like a relationship, like a friendship almost.
Wow.
And so I think that's sort of the difference for me, because I would feel like I'd be sneaking around and like after curfew, things like that. But here it's just sort of like having that open dialogue about sex, drugs, things like that, and it's just sort of like it's a normal part of the dialogue versus where I just was handed a book when I was 10 years old about sex.
Yes, that's the way they do it back
Or
then.
learn it from your big sister, right?
Right.
Right?
Right. And if
Right.
we can at home, what the parents do at home, if we can complement that in the schools, which is really important. So at home, parents do a really good job of teaching them respect. And if they can carry that into the classroom, it's really important. I work with Dress for Success started a youth program a couple years ago. And we work within the high schools to build the confidence. And we're working with girls in a workforce development program to get them ready to look at their transferable skills and what they want to do. Building the confidence and complementing what the parents are doing at home and reinforcing that is really key.
So yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
Go
so
ahead.
sorry.
Esther. Go
So
ahead.
I mean, I always have to bring in the hard
Yes.
stuff. Okay,
Yes.
so the hard stuff. The facts are that the girls go through competitiveness more than boys. The boys compete in the sports, right? But the girls are competing who's prettier, who's popular. How did you handle that? Did your daughter go through that? And how did you handle that? Because that's what I hear from other moms, the challenging part. Oh, my daughter was not included, or my daughter, it's part of the sports group and it's not part of the popular group, or my daughter is not as wealthy as so and so, and it's that hard part. How did you navigate through that?
That
'Cause
is
she's older now.
She is. She's 17, and that is a hard part too. I think just like as adults, we only need a handful of really good friends that have our
Yes.
backs.
That's
And
it.
I think if you have a core group of people that you can count on when you're upset with the teacher, that you can count on when you're having a problem with a boy at school, that is key. So being popular, that all fades away, but it really is having a couple key friends. And I think she formed those relationships from a young year, and she kept some of those same friends and then branched out to other people as well. So that was key to know. You don't need to be friends with everybody, but there's people that will have your back. And that's who you look for is the girls that have your back. And that's important. And that'll could last a lifetime for
All
people.
right. So thank you, Tom, to dropping in and engaging into the show. I would like to remind all the viewers that out there, use the Facebook, Princeton TV Facebook. Tom is sharing with us the key word of dialogue is of communicating with teens today is dialogue. And I totally agree with you. Thank you very much, Tom, to engaging with us. Now, Dr. Joan, you also I have boys, you have boys, Esther has boys. And I find that the dialogue with boys seems to be extraordinarily different than with girls.
Yes.
So what's your take?
My take, that is correct. I have two boys, and it's we're open. We talk. And I found that when they were babies, it was easier. Once they get 17, 18, it's a whole different, like, who are you? They are independent, and it's like, where you going? Like you said earlier, and they're like, they don't want to tell you, but I'm not a tracker. I'm not a tracker. So Boys, you have to just talk to them, and they will tell you, but they'll tell you when they're ready to tell you.
Yeah.
They're not gonna like the girls. Oh, da da da, yeah, this happened. I like Tom. No, they're not doing that.
Yeah.
They'll think about how they're gonna say it. At least my boys, they'll think about how they're gonna say it, and they'll think about when they're gonna say it, and then that's where the dialogue comes in. And if you're not too pushy, you'll get a lot. But if you're like, well, what do you mean by that? You just
They shut down.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it depends on how you're doing the dialogue,
approach.
how you're approaching the dialogue.
Yes.
Yes.
This is true.
And one of our viewer is saying, don't make that decision for them too much as helping them to make a smart decision on their own. And that is the truth. I would like to talk about really the hard stuff. Are we okay? Okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sure. That's
The
what's
the hard stuff is, what do you do when you see that child, a girl, a boy, doesn't matter, that child that is starting to go inside and that is at the edge of asking this question, do I keep living or not?
You mean when they're starting to shut down because of depression or
Mhm.
I
anxiety?
think I think when you see that, like we were talking about communication, it's really key. But I think that something you can ask is if you want to speak to someone else besides yourself. Sometimes a child will want to speak to a therapist or somebody else to let that out. And I think there's a stigma with speaking to a therapist, but it's really, really important to know the signs if your child's struggling. I mean, with suicide prevention and everything that goes on in the world, and with COVID and teens struggling with drugs, alcohol at such a young age, I think really knowing the signs are important and getting help right away. And not, hey, I see you look strange today. Are you doing drugs? Do you need help? Or you want to see a therapist? Nothing like that, but sort of really slowly kind of building that relationship and probing to see. And you know your child, if it's something they're just having a bad day, or if it's something that's leading to a lot more, and you can tell by the behavior, the change of behavior.
Yeah, that's true. If you know your child, right, and you kind of engage with them and have the dialogue with them, and then you see the difference, you know something.
Mhm.
I mean, a parent kind of always knows
They do.
something.
They do.
They're not sure, and some of them are afraid to approach the child and just let the child be. But then you should. That's when you should be aggressively finding out like what's going on with you, and then perhaps counseling, perhaps
Absolutely.
school. Go to the school, see the school nurse. Has my child been in the office? Talk to somebody. Talk to the teacher.
Reach out to other people.
Is their behavior differently? And then you
Mhm.
proceed and act on that. And it's not always easy as it sounds.
No.
Mhm.
So, but you have to be also.
You have to know them
watching,
enough and
them
watch,
enough,
and know
right.
their patterns. And then again, family, friends too. If
Yeah.
you're friends
Community.
with some of the parents in the community, if you're going to the soccer games, the football games, even going back to school night, I
Yeah.
think that's important. No matter how old they get, they may not want you there, but they'll see that you're glaring there in the audience, and seeing that you did go and
You
you do
support.
care about their future and supporting what they're doing. And you get all kinds of information at back to school night. I
Mm.
think it's key to stay engaged, and if they're
Yes.
juniors and seniors, to stay involved with it, with their life and
Engaged.
everything that they do.
Well, and it's so different, right? But when we were growing up, well, I mean, I know at least when I was growing up, back to school nights, things like that weren't necessarily existent, or when they were, my parents never really
Never went.
showed up.
Mhm.
Never went. And it was just, there was just like this level of expectation in terms of how you're gonna deliver. In terms of
Well,
like,
our
the rules.
generation, I believe,
Right.
sorry to cut
Yeah.
you off,
Yeah.
but I think it's really important because generation to generation are so very different.
100%.
And our parents were, well, kind of, you
Hands off a
kids,
little.
hands off, kids are not to be heard,
You don't talk
right?
about it. And, like, and you
Was
never
it
talk
handsome, or was you better getting this right?
Well,
or
yeah,
you gonna
but you didn't talk about
Combination.
depression. You didn't
No.
talk about
No.
depression or ADHD or
Right.
things like we just sort of developed for me, developed my own coping mechanisms. And so now this day and age, I even remember like even just 10 years ago when I was focused on undergraduate recruitment at JP Morgan, parents would call me about why their son or daughter didn't get the job. And I'm thinking, have your son or daughter call me. Because that's what,
That's
I know
the
that-
helicopter stuff.
Right?
And there's still
Helicopter
parents like
parenting,
that.
right?
Yeah, that
Mhm.
So,
forget that
right.
they're adults. I just want to jump in a little bit. I mean, the kids going through anxiety and depression, it's coming on very earlier than ever. Some kids, as soon as their body starts to go through puberty, right? It's when the body starts to make that shift some boys, at least in my experience, was that that's when the anxious and the depression started to kick in, because they're getting not enough facial hair on time. Like the friends have facial hair, or they're muscular, or my feet is not big enough, I'm not tall enough, and then that comparison that human beings by nature have. I don't know how my mom did it. I never did that, but that's just that was me. But the normal is to be always comparing yourself. And when you're going through puberty, your hormones are going through the shift, and you're comparing. It's like a double whammy. And the chances of you experiencing some kind of level of anxiety, I wouldn't say clinical, but something of anxiety or the family traditions are very strict and expectations are too high. So, for example, and there's two cultures here: the immigrant coming in and the Americanized one. The Americanized might have a lot of sports and a lot of activities, and immigrant families are like study. And what do you mean you're gonna go play? I was just saying that.
Like, I was kicked off the my dad took me off of the basketball team because I missed dinner.
Yeah. So it's different cultures, right?
Yes.
Yeah, different cultures. And
As you see, for us in Europe, is like, oh, you're coming back from school, you go play, and then you do your study. It's like,
right.
You come home, you have a snack that mom has prepared, and then you go out and relax, take some air.
Yes.
And then you come back home, and then you study.
And so now you have a kid who's growing up, and all their friends are outside playing, and he or she has to study for hours,
Right.
and then practice piano or whatever, or then do taekwondo or whatever, and there's no fun.
Yeah, but then I had the other day, I talked with that young lady, and she's in high school, and actually the young lady is not even coming from her parents. She wants to do this. She
that's
wants
different.
to do that.
That's different because she's empowered.
Yes.
Right.
And
It's
I
a
think,
decision she's making.
I
But
think
it's
the
a
decision-
lot. It's a lot.
But not
And
if
then-
you want it. Then it's not a lot.
So I
I
do
don't
think I
know.
can weigh in on that. I think
Yeah.
being involved in sports or activities is really important if they want it, right? So
If
if
they
it's
want
their
it.
choice to do it, my daughter's involved with many activities. She does the opposite. She actually comes home from school, and then she does her homework, and then she usually goes back out and does one of her reading Olympics or one of these clubs that she's involved with. Sometimes it's right after school, but she likes to come home, get her
And
work
get it
done, and then maybe do a walk or do something with a friend during the weeknight and still come home, not wait till after dinner and it's 10 o'clock at night doing the
Too
homework, because
tired,
then you have
too
to
tired.
crunch it in,
Yeah.
and you may have more than you expected for that
Right.
particular night. But the stress of the homework and spacing that out, and again, being able to ask your child or your daughter, do you need help with this particular subject? There's clinics at school that they can see to take that stress off as well. So that, again, communicating with your daughter and having open dialogue is really key.
So that is the key, is dialogue, communication, watching those signs of retrieving back in, having not the opportunity to really talk to your parents when either it's a social stigma or something like that,
Cultural differences, yeah.
cultural differences, religion, and so on. But basically, bottom line, no matter what, is the dialogue. But now, on a fun note, when did your kid tell you when they had a boyfriend or a girlfriend?
That wasn't fun when I was growing up.
Oh,
I wasn't allowed to say that.
I had
Are
to
you
walk 3
kidding?
blocks away and have my boyfriend pick me up.
That's right.
On his bicycle.
No, there was no. No. That was
That's when the
No.
claws come out with some dads that have daughters and some
my
moms
God.
too. I actually have to tell a funny story. My daughter's first date did ask me on FaceTime if he could go on a date with her. And I thought that was so modern. I felt so cool and respected in that case. But yeah, you never want them to have a boyfriend or girlfriend too soon, too
Yeah.
early on. You want them to concentrate on themselves and self-care
Yeah.
and understand who they are before they jump in a relationship with somebody else. But you can't stop it, because if you say no, then they're going to do what they want. They're very
Anyway.
independent of you too. But you just hope they make good decisions.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate the honesty now. I feel like sort of just back to the whole like just openness and being able to say, yeah, I do have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And
Yeah.
I do appreciate being brought along that journey. So
Right.
that you meet-
Absolutely.
whereas I know,
Now we have to be open for everything, right? I have a
Yes.
girlfriend, but I'm a girl.
right?
Right.
I'm a boyfriend. I have a boyfriend. I'm a boy.
Yeah.
So, and also be open to dating. And now he's only 14 or 15. And some
Well, it's
families
fluid.
it's good, and
It's-
other families are like,
Yeah.
no, like me. that was me. Okay, I admit. I was like 18, and my
That's the
his brothers were like 18.
Right. But it is fluid. But
I gave
it.
in. I
out of
gave
high
in.
school at
I
that
gave
point.
in.
Do you find though that even now
'Cause I
it's
didn't wanna see it.
more fluid with dating in terms of it's like no labels in terms of like I don't know, maybe I might want to date a you may be male or transgender, but like or addressing different pronouns, but it's more fluid in terms of like I don't know, I might want to date a boy or a girl, or it just seems more fluid to me.
I think so.
What's happening
and
more.
they start
It's
out as
happening
friends.
more,
They all
yeah.
start out as friends because they don't want to claim anything in the
Right.
beginning. So it's
Yeah.
friends, and then they explore from
Yes.
there and decide
Right.
Well,
what direction they're going.
But
in.
then after the dating, now you got to talk about what was hard for me. I couldn't do it. I was like, you're not having. There's no going on here, right? Because
And did
that's
you
not
have-
happening in my house.
And did you have
No, then I let the dads do that, the protection. I'm so old fashioned. I'm old, but that was the
So-
hard
Another
part, right?
question.
Because now
So
it's that part.
This is bring me to the next question here. So, how to balance a relationship with your teen? Should you be the cool mom or not?
I think you can be both. I mean, I'm the ultimate desbian, the dad lesbian. I feel
I
like
didn't know.
they call
I
me
never heard
desbian,
Oh,
but
I didn't know that.
but yeah, like I don't know, and I tell the boys like, look, I'll be totally fine if you come out straight. So if you're straight,
That's
perfectly fine.
interesting.
Conversation, yeah.
But there is like it is
Well,
fascinating.
that's
right?
interesting. You said that because
That is very
very
interesting.
few
So they don't have
few-
that expectation.
few heterosexual families are saying I'm perfectly open if you're not straight. That's a whole different show. That's a
Yes.
We
whole
can do that
different show.
different. And I think the cool mom is you want to be friendly with the kids and you want to be friendly with their friends, but you don't want to be the cool mom that's a friend that they can tell you everything and they want you to do it first. My mom's the cool mom. She'll say yes to all of these things that we want to do. So you want to be able to have a good relationship, but
Boundaries.
also have boundaries and standards,
Boundaries,
which
yes.
is really important. So I never want my daughter to say, you're my best friend, you're my bestie. I want her to say, I respect you and thank you for being open to my ideas. And as I'm
Yeah.
growing and learning, the parenting is really important
Yeah.
at that point rather than being a best friend.
Yeah.
I have met
agree.
I have met some fun moms that are still motherly, but they're fun.
I think I'm
And
a fun mom too.
I don't
What do you
have
think,
that.
Esther?
I don't have that. I'm so
Get to that
sorry to my boys.
So, what about
Are you the fun mom?
dads?
I am mom, just mom. I'm fun. I'm not fun. Mom. Everything is a lesson. That's how I get them when I talk. I'm like, okay, you see that just happened on TV, So everything is a lesson, and they're like, mom. So it's that kind of relationship, and I love it. And as far as sex goes, I was like. Meeting the girlfriend and sex, I was sick. I was sick, but I wasn't like, you can't do it. No.
No.
I
Yeah.
just like watch them hold hands and I'm like, oh.
Hurts your heart the first time you see them holding
Yeah.
hands.
What else is happening?
You dive across the room and
Yeah,
then
I'm like, oh, and it's like, leave your door open. You're like,
Oh, yes.
you're not gonna do it.
Leave the door
Oh,
open.
So you weren't being the cool mom. You were being the mom that wanted
Yeah.
the respect,
Yeah.
which is
Oh,
really
yeah.
important.
there's
And that's what
mom,
our
there's
as a mother
Mhm.
of
Yeah.
a daughter, that's the kind of conversation I like to
Oh,
hear.
I told
Absolutely.
my-
So thank you for that.
Yes. I told my
So
My-
thank you, Mary Jo, for your comments.
Oh, yes.
And she absolutely agree with Melissa. So thank you, Mary Jo. Yes, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say that I told my son has a girlfriend, and he's the only son that's been allowed to bring a girl to the house because the two oldest they just knew I was much stricter. I'm a little loose now, really a little bit, and so not that loose, but anyway. So you can't be in the bedrooms. So they went to the bedroom the first time. And I happened to walk by, and they were laying in bed hugging, and I almost my heart came out. I was texting, "Get out of the room right now!"
so you're outside the door right now.
And so the rule is she can come, but you can't have to be in the living room.
All right.
I like
We
it.
have
I like that rule.
believe it. One of our viewers said, "Believe it or not, parents have wisdom that children should appreciate and be curious about. That is the truth. Doesn't always mean they are old
Buddy.
buddies, but duties.
That'll come like
Right.
20,
And they
30
will,
years
once they
later.
get out of the rolling of the eyes, they'll realize you do have wisdom and they'll
Yes.
appreciate that. It's a very short phase, hopefully.
All right.
And they all go through it.
Our next question, how do you guide your daughter to be independent?
I didn't have to do much guiding. My daughter was very independent at a very early age. I had to say, again, I have wisdom and I have experience, and I'm looking out for you to be able to give you some of my pearls of wisdom so that you can learn from them. But I know you're going to make your own choices, you're going to make your own mistakes, and you're going to be your own independent person. So I try to bring out the best in her while letting her be her own person, which is key.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And that is very hard to
Good,
do.
good.
Yes,
I think
you
that
see where it can go wrong, and
it
you could
can
have
go
stopped it.
really yes, absolutely. And I think in your case, meaning your relationships seems to be so unique to me, because I talk with a lot of women out there, and I can tell you they're like, oh, Gabby, you know, and you
I've
hear
heard.
that as well, meaning the parents, mom today have such a great challenge because it's hard to reach them. We are old no matter what. We are not into that technology, or most of them are not. So it's a big gap, and I think that it's really hard to reach that heart deep inside, where that wisdom, whatever you are going to say to your child, is really going to be heard. But as parents, we can never give up.
Never give up and never let them just go in their room for the night, and always, again, go check on them to make sure what's going on and how their day was, and never let them be up there just on their phone talking to their friends. But again, it's key to understand that they're going to try to block you, but you want to just keep getting in there and communicating and telling them your areas of expertise. For instance, my daughter's getting into going to college soon, and I'm talking to her about different majors that she might be interested in. I'm hitting chords with her to say, thank you for having these great conversations. It's something I've been worried about and I've been stressed about. So those components of giving your words of wisdom and your expertise in the area that can help them is really important to guide them in life.
And I think also having the appreciation. I have 3 beautiful nieces, and having their parents sort of set them over, send them over to me.
Absolutely.
Like that like to me is like, wow, like, yeah, I'm their aunt, but it's also interesting to feel like a role model.
Yes.
And you are.
So,
Yes,
so when you have
absolutely.
your parents, like, hey, you should talk to like a family, relative or aunt, uncle, what have you. I think having that tribe,
Yeah.
I think
Tribe.
really makes
The
a
tribe
community
is
is
super
important.
important.
because the nieces may not talk to their
No,
parents necessarily
same.
about
Right.
things.
As
And you
the
can
same.
reinforce
That
what
is
they're
the
telling,
truth.
and they'll
Yes.
say, wow, I trust you, and you're an
Right.
outside person from the family, but you're close enough that you have my back, and it reinforces what the parents are teaching their
That's
I
right.
children.
agree.
I mean, the words don't really teach. Example does. Lead by example. I
Lead
mean,
by example.
We
in
have these
everything we do.
conversations, but that doesn't. Sometimes, I mean, you hear it over and over. Words don't teach. It's the example. It's a combination of you speaking and then living your life, so they can see it.
And that is the truth.
You can't say don't
Very
smoke
well
while you're
said.
smoking.
And I think that always to be the strongest one is not always the best. You also need to show your vulnerable side.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So not always being, like this is always. But one last word, we're going to be taking a break. So to the viewers out there, right there, we are asking you to join that conversation at break. After the break, we are going to bring our guest, and she is going to talk about the challenge or not that she has with her teen daughter. So if you want to participate and engage into the conversation, go to Princeton TV Facebook and put your comment there, because your engagement, your comments make this show an exceptional show. And again, Princeton TV is a community TV. We are a nonprofit foundation. So please, if you want to donate, you can do that as well. So any last word before we go to break? We all good? All right.
We're ready for our guest.
So
Right.
see you in a while.
Good job.
All right. Thanks. enough?
3, 2,
Oh.
go.
All right, welcome back here at the Gab Real Talk, Real Insight. I'm Gabby Johnson, and here is the crew. And we are back with our guest, Jenna Clark. Dr. Joan, would you like to present Jenna?
Well, Jenna is a teacher, she's a mom, she is a scout volunteer, and she does Odyssey of the Mind, and she is here. She's a former educator also, and she's raising a teen daughter in
Yes.
2021. What is that like, Jenna?
Oh my goodness! I listened to everything you ladies had to say, and all I could do was,
Absolutely.
I think that all of the questions were, very thought invoking, and some of them I hadn't even thought about before. But my daughter is 13 and a half, and she's a wonderful young lady. She is an Irish dancer. She loves horses. She does horseback riding. I knew that when I had late life children, so I'm older, they never hesitate to remind me of that. But,
Tell me about it.
and especially her twin brother, he's all over me about that. But I knew that I have an older son. He's an adult. And I knew that when these children were coming into the world, I needed to be sure that I understood that they were separate and apart from me, because I really had a very close relationship with my older son. And I think we were a little bit too, like I was a little helicopter-y. He had some anxieties, and, getting him off the ground was a little bit of a challenge. And when I heard that I was having a girl, baby A was a girl, I said, please, Lord, not two girls, please, Lord, not two girls. Because I know the challenges of raising young ladies. It's very scary. And I made the commitment to keep them in the church with close relationships with children with whom they could grow and, discover themselves all together. So right now, they're in the older youth group, and they have a very close knit of friends they spend a lot of time with. And I let them go on the retreats. There's strict rules, etc. But with regard to my daughter, she's very different from me. I'm more outgoing, and I'm more assertive. Some would say a little aggressive. She's very quiet. She's very sensitive, and she's soft-spoken, and sometimes I think she doesn't get me, and I know sometimes I don't get her. And when you were all talking about dialogue, the only thing that I could think was sometimes the dialogues don't match.
Right. The styles.
Because there's
Correct.
a different and distinct human being there outside of me. I might have created her, but she's different and distinct. And I think that I was in an advantage situation, having been through interactions with thousands of children over the 32 years I was in education, but also now and I was in early childhood. But now the children are older, with whom I, engage in conversation. Odyssey team they're all middle schoolers. So are the scouts, they're middle school and high schoolers. And that has forced me to try to understand that mindset in this day and age, My daughter my children lost their father. All three of them, their dad passed away about 2.5 years ago. And that was a struggle. And I didn't know what to do for her.
So this is a good point. Is effectively suddenly your life has pivoted, and now already we see the pattern that is a differentiation between the boy and the girl. But now that you are a parent that needs to be the mom and the dad, what was the biggest change you saw at that moment?
I think, you were talking about depression before. And though I don't believe my daughter to be anywhere near, suicidal, I do believe that there was a depression that set in. First, it was a deep sadness.
Of course.
Yeah.
I
And
understand.
because her two brothers handled it so differently,
Mm-hmm.
and we're so different
Mhm.
that I felt she had no one to really reach out to. And one night I heard her sobbing,
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
and her older brother went in to console her, and I walked in and said, what's the matter? And he turned and said, she's crying about daddy.
Mhm.
And I said, oh, and I didn't even know what to say. And at that point I thought, I don't think there's anything to say. I just need to hold her right now.
Right.
But at some point, I had to have that conversation. And because she's so sensitive, when she starts to talk about things that are important to her, she starts to cry.
Mm-hmm.
And
She's getting it out, so that's important.
but then she'll close up because she thinks crying isn't okay while she's having a dialogue. And that might come from school.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It doesn't come from our family. So that influence is very strong.
Mm-hmm.
But I have found that the more I support her passion, I think passion in a child's life, something that they're really interested in, something that they would do anything to get to, like she'll do anything to get to her horseback riding. The more I support that, the more I see her begin to blossom.
Mm-hmm.
And she even reached out to do some volunteer work there.
That's wonderful. Horseback riding is very therapeutic. My daughter rides as well, and it's soothing to just do the grooming and to be in the stalls and have
She
other
loves
kids and
it.
just relax. And the riding itself is so exhilarating. So it's really strong to build confidence and posture in the girls that are riding. And
Yep.
whether it's competition or it's just for leisure, it's a wonderful thing for
It
her to have
really
in her
is.
life that she can have for years. And it's unusual too. It's a great gift that you've given her.
And that's just something she adores. And she's also an Irish dancer, like I said, and she has had a lot of success with that. But lately I have found, now that she's coming into her womanhood and she's beginning to, the brain changes, you know.
Yeah. That's
I was talking to my godmother, who is also my cousin once removed, who is a licensed clinical social worker. And I said, could you talk to her, please? Just, and see what's going on. So she did, and we had a conversation, and we agreed that my daughter needed to probably go and see a therapist. It took me quite a while to find someone who I could trust.
That's
You
hard.
know, I didn't want to, though we're Christian, I didn't want a Christian counselor because I'm not about legalism. I didn't need that kind of influence on my daughter. But I remember that when I had gone through a concussion period, I had a counselor who I absolutely adored, who actually started as a school counselor. So I contacted him, and she's been seeing him, and the changes.
That's great to hear.
She's beginning to open up. She's been talking about her dad. She'll have conversation with me. So we can't be afraid of a stigma, because there really is no stigma in you stepping out and helping yourself.
Right. And talking to someone else that can reinforce what you're teaching at home, and maybe she can communicate it a little differently to someone that she doesn't know but knows is a trusted source that has her
And most
best
of the
interest.
time, the stigma comes from, oh, I don't want him looking at my daughter funny. Oh, I don't want him to make her feel bad. But you have to put that aside as parents, because parents feel like, I think it's all about appearance sometimes.
Yeah.
So to see that you say, listen, I'm going to help my daughter in this way, that's awesome, because most of the time they're like, no, I don't want to look at my daughter funny or talking bad about my daughter. Not today, But to do that, when these kids need help, we have to help them as parents.
So the
And you're doing a
question
good
is
job with that.
how do you encourage a teen out there that might not be into the circumstance of Jenna, because this is pretty heavy, but just general, what will be our word right there to the parents that needs to do the parenting? How do you engage and encourage with your teen?
I would say don't let other people's opinion affect your job of helping your teen. Talk to the teen. Listen, I want to help you. This is the way I can help you. We could talk to someone, because I don't have all the answer. And I think Esther was saying, be vulnerable, with your kids. Be vulnerable. Show them, I don't know everything.
No, you don't
But
know.
you could I could get somebody who can help us figure this thing out. And if you have the dialogue, there goes that word again, with them, I believe they will listen to you if you're sincere and you really want to help them. I think they would listen to you. Okay, let's try it. And if not, you keep having the dialogue until they get it. I'm trying to help you.
My son, when he was 14, he was going through something very similar of feeling depressed, right? For various reasons, and he refused to go to a therapist. Refused, and I said, but I don't have the tools. So what we found was a yoga place who did mindfulness for teenagers. Best thing ever.
That's great.
And the
And it
sad,
helped.
not only it helped, but the sad part was that they could not keep up with the list of kids.
They were coming into the
There were
center.
so many
Wow.
kids that they had to do other workshops, but it was a place where he said, "Oh, I'm not the only one."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he would run in every time he had to go and come back. And I until this day, I have not read that notebook. That's another thing with parents. You can't cross those boundaries.
That's
You
right.
I agree,
gotta stop.
100%.
You
And
know,
with the
you-
journals,
Yeah,
absolutely.
don't. Sorry.
No, my son doesn't keep one. My son doesn't keep one, but if he did,
You would have a hard time controlling
Flip over
yourself.
it. Yeah. Oh,
No, you have.
I think that's
Yeah, you have-
sacred.
that's
they put
sacred.
That, yeah, it's very
Yeah.
sacred. They
I
put those
promise.
words down to
I'm so
heal.
glad he
They put
doesn't
those
have
words
one.
down to heal themselves.
It would be challenging
think
for you.
it's
I
important.
can't do that
Yeah.
because the therapist will not do
Absolutely.
that.
Yes,
They feel that that's their
absolutely.
sacred
Yeah.
words and they
Yeah.
keep it hidden. A lot of times they keep it locked. Not that I know anybody that would do that.
So another question: when do you say yes to your teen?
Well, I think that starts very young, and I think you have to establish a household where the precepts and the morals and the expectations are set at a very young age, because you can't change midstream and expect it to work.
Mm.
So from even before they were born, I knew that I wanted them to have a moral foundation. And I have a wonderful non-legalistic church where we go, we don't go. You know, they go to youth group. Sometimes they don't.
I like
I don't pressure. I don't force. But they enjoy themselves. And I ask them periodically, "Does it make you happy to go?"
Mhm.
And they say, "Yeah, we want to go." You know.
Mhm.
But I think that's really important. That foundation makes all the difference, because kids are not about you, let's reverse, you know.
Mm.
Plus, you need to stay consistent.
Give them something
Consistency.
to look forward to, a draw, whether it's sports, whether it's academics, whether it's
And that was the
church,
third
whatever
thing.
it is, to have something that
Passion.
they're passionate
Mhm.
about,
Mhm.
that they look forward to when they wake up
That's
in the morning.
right.
I want to do this today. I'm excited about the day because I'm going to get through school and I'm going to do well, but then I have something else that I'm interested
That's
in
right.
too. That's that extra draw.
Absolutely.
And if religion is not a big part of the family, which I grew
Mhm.
up that way, some families don't have religion as that
Mhm.
that trifecta part of their tools. But also having those open relationships where there's discussions about curiosity. Because I remember my kid wanting to know, I don't understand this God thing. And so he's agnostic, and I had to respect that. But he goes to youth group,
Mm.
and he's learning and building it, because it was just too complex for his mind, and I had
Yes.
to accept that. So sometimes religion might not be the main, like it was in my
Really?
home,
Mhm.
but maybe in your home, open discussion about the earth and
Mhm.
nature, and is there a God or not,
So
whatever you want to
everybody's
discuss.
drawn
So
to something
for me, a yes to a teen is that if the question helps you and it's respectful to you and other, then the yes can come.
Mhm. Oh,
Huh?
yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
All right.
Yes, I was trying to follow. Yes. If yes,
Yes.
because I grew up legalist, fundamentalist to the nines, and my parents are still like that. But I chose not to do that. And when my three boys say they were agnostic, at first it was like you know, when you come from that, it's like a shock. It's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Our entire family is in the religion, you know, everybody's a minister. Anyway, not to derail, but the fact is that some families don't have that piece, it might be another piece that might give them that consistency.
Mhm.
It's key also.
Mhm.
Whatever your
When you say
sorry.
yes is
Yeah.
when they back up the reasons why they're making those decisions. Because that was a question, the initial one, do you say yes to your child, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes, when they back it up with facts and you feel that
Right.
if it's out of the norm,
It's
what you normally
safe
would
and
accept, it's
respect.
safe. And
Right.
I'm going to a Phillies game
Mhm.
and it's not done till 11:30, 12, even though my deadline to come home is 11:30. I'm going to be home later as long as they talk in advance and
Yes.
tell you about the
Mhm.
exceptions that you're going to make and they have the backing and you kind of know
Mhm.
that there's somewhere
Yeah.
safe. That's when you say the yes. That was
Yes.
the question. That's
Yeah,
when
in
you
those
say
in
yes.
those in
And you
those
trust.
cases, but there's hard ones like
Right, and
religion
that's hard
is
decisions
important.
always.
Yes.
Sexuality is another, and sometimes
Very hard decisions.
different for you. But then at some point you have to say yes.
Well, it might be, TMI, but I had discussions with my daughter about her menstrual cycle
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit.
Mhm.
Periodically we
How
would
it
have a
affects her,
discussion
Mhm.
exactly and what would happen when it came on, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, come on, we got to go to dance. She's coming down the stairs and she's like, Mom.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, let me get you something. I got her something and she went straight to dance.
Mhm.
And she handled it like a young
She knew
woman.
it was coming.
So
you had
now,
that open
but
dialogue.
now you have moms or parents because it could be the reverse situation where the dad
Single dad.
has
Mhm.
yes, the single dad that
Widow then.
right widow dad, then who is not comfortable
Mhm.
to deal with that particular question. So then, what would you offer as an alternative?
A single dad, well, if he's a good single dad, he'll rock with it. He'll like, listen, let's Google it. Let's do something.
He'll figure it out.
Find out how to figure it
Google
out.
it.
And he'll figure it out.
Good resource
And
always.
if he's like squeamishy or something, he'll have a good girlfriend or a friend
Or
or
a relative.
somebody
Oh,
a
family.
relative that he could call and say, I need your help right now, So I think a single parent a dad could most definitely handle that.
Be involved in all
So,
aspects
yeah.
if they want to educate themselves.
Yeah.
And like you said, Google is a great resource.
Yes,
You can get it
yes,
quick, get the answers you need.
Mhm.
I know someone who's a widow who had a little girl and she was gonna do her the Catholics do the where they wear the white dress. What is it?
Oh, communion?
Confirmation, something like that.
Confirmation, yeah.
And he had to style her hair and he had to learn how to do that.
Right?
Figure it out. So there's a lot of dads there with daughters too. I think there are things that I can say as a mom to my boys. I'm a single parent, but I keep a strong relationship with the father because I think that there's things that the father can teach. So maybe in your case, an uncle, a brother.
Well, their older brother has been
Yeah.
very helpful, especially
Mhm.
with his younger brother,
Yes.
who obviously is now,
Entering.
same in that direction. But it's funny though, my older son might be 28 years old, but when he was going through all of that, he was very open with me and had conversations with me about it. I mean, he kept himself private, obviously, but he asked me about those things, and I said, well. It's normal. I've never been through that, why don't you ask your dad?
What's funny? I have two boys, and it's not until they were late bloomers. So I didn't start seeing the girlfriend didn't start happening till 17, 18.
Oh.
But by then I'm like, oh no. But at that point, if I had to do the yes, it would be in a good context because all their lives they weren't doing anything for me to say, oh no, no.
Right.
And I wanted to ask before I go, you talked about the brain changing at 13.
Mhm.
Yes.
How do you see you handling it when it changes again at 16, 17?
It's your daughter. Good
Mhm.
question.
Because there's a lot of pushback at that age.
Yes.
Mhm.
They're grown, they know everything.
Like I said, I mean, even if you've changed in midstream because all of a sudden you're confronted, at 13, 14 with these changes, you can still lay some kind of a foundation and say, look, there were things that I did when I was younger that I regret,
Mhm.
and I know that sometimes those things are going to happen in your life
Yeah.
because you're either in the moment or, you're like, mom doesn't know anything.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that I'm going to love you less.
Right.
So I need to know when you're confronted with these these difficult situations. I would never say, no, you can't go to the movies, at 15 with a young boy. But I've told my daughter and I've told her brother, if you want to go somewhere, I need to meet him first. Ask him to call me or ask him to stop by, or I'll go meet his parents at the house and we'll say hello. That's all I expect. And I've told my son, if you want to start dating, it's respectful to say something to their parents.
Absolutely. What advice would you give to people that are watching about their daughters and some words of wisdom in raising your daughter, since that's what the show's all about today?
I think that dialogue piece is really important. I think constantly keeping that communication open. Yes, it can be difficult if you have completely different communication styles, but that doesn't mean that you don't do it.
Don't let them
right.
shut down.
Don't
Get
let
in
them
there
shut down.
at whatever cost. Get
Absolutely.
in there and communicate.
So thank you
Good advice.
so
Thank you.
Thank you so
Great.
much,
Awesome.
Jenna. That was
you,
awesome
Jenna.
words from Jenna and the crew. Now, in October is a lot of things happening. And again, one of the things you can do is to help and support the Princeton TV by doing a donation. So go to the Princeton page on the website and you find the link there. However, if you have more questions about the topic of today, then please send them. We'll review them after the show. In October is fun. The foliage are changing, so go out for a walk, pick up a pumpkin, do some fun activity with your kids out there. But remember, always have an open dialogue with your teenager. And I thank you all here.
Thank you.
And we'll see the events going on.
Yes, we have some great events going on, and I believe we're going to put those up on the screen. But the first one that we have is the Y
Anita.
Shine on Harvest Moon, which is actually tomorrow, which is going to be really exciting. And it's an event for the Y. It's right on Robeson Place, right here in Princeton. There's going to be festivities for the kids. So join in. It's tomorrow, 5:30, Robeson Place, right here at the Y.
Oh,
We also have Art Jam, which is in Palmer Square, and that's going to be a great event. It's to support Homefront, which is a shelter in Ewing and in Trenton as well. And all the proceeds go to their art program, which is great. They're very into doing art, the students there and the people in the shelter. And there's artists from around the county and also throughout the state that are donating, and all the proceeds, again, go to Homefront to help the families in crisis in the shelters here locally. And the last one is Kinder Smile right in Trenton, New Jersey. They have an event that's coming up on November 11th, and it is a comedy event, which you don't see as many lately. So that's something different and interesting, and we all need a little humor in our life. So we're excited about Kinder. It's on November 11th, and they help underserved students and children in the area get better oral care, which is important to everybody, especially people that are uninsured and can't afford it themselves. So they're doing really great work. Those three organizations, they're all filled with fun. And again, pick some pumpkins, do some carving, have some music and art. It's going to be a beautiful fall weekend.
Don't forget your pumpkin latte.
Yes.
That's right.
And I'm going to put a plug
Yes.
in for the Glisten Respect Awards.
Yes, sure
so
do.
That's happening tonight between 8 and 9 p.m.
Woo.
We're going to be featuring Anthony from Queer Eye. We're going to be also honoring Eliza Bird's commitment to the organization as executive director for the past 20 years. Come join us. Normally, this is something that's in person in Los Angeles and New York. We're combining both events, and it's tonight, virtual, between 8 and 9. Glisten Respect
That's
Awards.
exciting.
Awesome.
I'm joining. That sounds really exciting.
Big
I
brother.
have to
Thank you.
plug in
Yes.
on October 17th between 12 and 3. We're having our first, Let Me Be Me is having its first business expo.
Congratulations.
So if you're in Ewing Township, we're at 5 Graphics Drive in Ewing. Come by, stop and shop. All right.
And Esther, last one.
Big
Go
brother,
ahead.
big sister,
Woo!
October 21st. Gabby and I are the chairs, so we'll be talking a lot about the organization and how fabulous it is helping children who might need someone to support them, whether it's a father figure or maybe an uncle, not so much of a father, but a male representative or a sister that needs someone to talk to and have fun with and just relax. So it's a great organization. I hope that you can come. Autumn Culinaire at the Country Club, Cobblestone in Lawrenceville. Make sure you come. You have fun.
That is awesome. That will be on Thursday, October. So next Thursday, correct?
21st.
21st.
6:30.
At 6:30. Now, I remind you, next week, we are back. Thursday at noon, we have a fantastic guest that is presented by Melissa. Talk about it.
Yes, we have Mo that's coming in from WeWork, and it's an organization in Pennington. We're going to talk about how COVID has affected their business, their manufacturing company. But the spin is that they hire a lot of individuals with disabilities, and it's Disabilities Month. So we want to really focus on giving life skills to people that are in need and having them contribute to the community, which is really key for them to have a long lifestyle. And they hire many people, and Mo is the executive director there and has been there for quite a few years. And they're doing fantastic work in the community, getting everybody involved. So we can't wait to have him as our guest.
So thank you for joining us next Thursday at noon. Thank you for all the viewers that have engaged. Remember, join us, engage, partake, watch, share, and support Princeton TV. Thank you all.
The Gavin crew.